Hello everyone, welcome back to building a podcast app in Django. In the previous episode we just explored using HTMX to render all the UI with kind of partial templates so that we could resolve the interrupting episode playback bug. So now the entire app is kind of using this HTMX JavaScript to load views in here. The past couple episodes I did actually encounter a bug, which is where if you're subscribed to a podcast, for example here, Talk Python, if we attempt to subscribe to this podcast again, we then end up with two subscriptions, which we can confirm. We come into the admin, so we have two subscriptions here, but only one podcast, which is a pretty bad bug, so let's try and fix that. And also, I think if you are already subscribed to a podcast, we should probably query and annotate those search results if you are subscribed. So to start with, let's just try and prevent you from having two duplicate podcasts. So I think that will require a model migration. So let's look at the subscription. I think we need like a Django unique together field to say that a subscription has to be unique for each user and podcast combination. So like Django unique together. Here we go. Meta options. Unique together. This seems kind of what we want, and we stick it inside class meta. Okay. So say class meta unique together is going to be user and podcast. So let's say make sure I'm in the right directory, manage.py, make migrations, which it has made a constraint for us. So if we migrate that again, okay, that's going to fail because in the database we do actually have duplicate subscriptions. So let me go and delete this. There we go. Yep, delete the subscription. Bye. Do we still have the podcast? Here we do. Okay, if we go back here, now we have one. So let's try and migrate again. It should be successful. Okay, that was successful. So we're still running our server. What happens if we try and subscribe to Talk Python now? I imagine we'll get an integrity error. Okay, so unique constraint failed. So at least that prevents the creation of the duplicate podcast. I think if you do get to this, maybe we should just redirect. What do we think? Or maybe we should make it impossible to click the button. What can happen is, even if we annotate this and say you are already subscribed, it might not be like the most up-to-date, because you could go on another device, unsubscribe or subscribe, and the state here on an old page could be incorrect. So I think we still need to redirect if you are subscribed. So we go to views here, where we've got import feed. Is that correct? This should really be called like create subscription. Hey ho. We can probably say that if, well, let's just say here, try accept subscription dot does not exist. Else return redirect subscription, and here the subscription is going to be subscription objects.get podcast feed link equals URL and user equals request.user. So in that scenario we're just going to ignore any errors if it doesn't exist. Maybe in Django there's a way of doing like get or none. I don't really like these try accept pattern. But let's just refresh this page. So clicking subscribe now should actually redirect us to the podcast without creating a subscription, which it doesn't. Why is that? Return redirect subscription. Interesting. Or should I redirect to the podcast? It should be, yes, it should be the subscription.podcast. Possibly because this just doesn't have a get absolute URL, so let me try this again. refresh the page, subscribe. Okay, that is working much better now. So the app is no longer broken when you try and subscribe to something you're already subscribed to. But it'd be better if we actually showed in the search results that you were subscribed. So inside search, I think if we do have results, we can say maybe like if results for subscription in subscription objects.filter where the user is the request.user. Do we want this? We want to say something like the subscriptions are all of these, maybe .values list, and we only want the podcast feed link. Will that work? Flat equals true, and then we want to loop over all the results and then annotate those results. So for result in results, if result, I'm not sure what this was, then we're going to say result subscribed equals true. Or maybe we can just say for result in result is the presence of the result.url in subscriptions. Maybe is that more readable? Who knows? Let me just try and dip into the shell here and say from podcast models import subscription.objects filter. In fact, let's say import. How do I import the user? I think I have an example of this here. Settings auth user. Django import user. Maybe I have it in my shell history. User equals. I don't. Here we go. Contrib.models. I always forget this one. So we're going to say user objects first. It should be me, and then subscription.objects.filter where user is user, and then we want the values list. Can we do podcast? What did we call it? Feed thing? Where were we? Feed link. Can I do that? I can, and I can say flat equals true. Okay, and I want to make this like a set. Will that work? Okay, so let's convert you to a set. A bit annoying that we do have to kind of do this in memory, so make a query, then convert it to a set, and then do all this in Python, but like the results are JSON anyway, so we're dealing with Python at that point. Just for clarity, I'm going to set a breakpoint here and just try and figure out kind of what the shape of this data is, so I know what to match on in here. So if our server is running, we can go into here and refresh this page, and we should hit the breakpoint. So our results is a big list. It's not a big list. It's let me have a look on the search page. Results.feeds. So feeds is the list. So we want to say, and the URL is this. Original URL. So maybe it's original. We need to match on maybe the original URL and the URL. When we subscribe, what do we do? We import feed using the original URL, so we'll match on the original URL as well. So you want to say if results dot get feeds for result in results feeds results. Oh no, this is terrible. Maybe it would be better if we flatten this data. Or we can just set it back to the original thing to start with. For every result in results.feed, then the index, let's say enumerate, and then we can just update the actual list, so we can say results feeds, and then the index of the thing we're going to update is going to be this. It's not the prettiest, but I don't really care. And then we're going to match the original URL, so original URL. Is that correct? Yes, this seems kind of correct. So let's add a breakpoint here. And then just continue on here and kill that breakpoint. And then refresh this page. Hopefully we should hit our breakpoint again. So if we look at results, feeds, and look at the first result, which I think is talk Python, then subscribed. Hello, subscribed has a key error. Why is that? Let's add a breakpoint here and figure that out. Refresh. So if results.getFeed, where are we? Subscriptions. Oh, we want to step forward to the next breakpoint. So we have subscriptions here. Let's say interact. Let me just check I've got this right, the right way around. In enumerate results, feeds, print, index, result. Okay, so the 0th index is going to be talk Python to me. Okay. And where were we in here? So the result, okay, so this is wrong, isn't it? This should be the string. That's probably why things were failing. So feeds. Help if I could read my code. So now it should hit this breakpoint down here, and let's just double check that again talk Python shows up. Third time lucky. So now we have results, feeds, 0. We have subscribed. We still don't have subscribed. Subscribed. Key error subscribed. Equals. Let's just try setting this to true. Maybe that statement was just incorrect. Oh, this should be results. That's why. It's errors upon errors. Results. 4th time lucky. Refresh. Subscribed. No. What a disaster this is. Okay, yeah, so in the second breakpoint I wasn't actually hitting the correct breakpoint. There was 2 breakpoints in there, so yeah, okay, so that seems to be working. So that's the first result, and then the second result should be not subscribed. Subscribe false, subscribe true. Okay, wow, that feature took a while to implement. Now we can actually use this information in the search results, so there should be this subscribe button. So I think we can say if result.subscribed else, and then end if. So if you're not subscribed, and we can do this, then maybe we can say unsubscribe. And let's see what happens there. Okay, so now there is an unsubscribe button, but we don't really have the notion of unsubscription, so maybe we need like an unsubscribe from feed. Let's just have button danger here. Maybe let's rename. Do we want to do this? Rename import feed to subscribe to feed? I think this is used in lots of places. Let's have a look. Okay, it's only used in apparently one place. Let's search in the current project. Free matches. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So I think we can rename this. Let's rename you to subscribe to feed. I've never actually used Kate find and replace, so let's give this a go. Did that work? I don't think it did. Subscribe. Okay. Let me just double check the URLs. Import. Okay, that didn't work. Let's say subscribe feed, and then subscribe feed. And then let's have a unsubscribe feed. Unsubscribe feed. Feed, and let's say subscribe feed. Okay, so in our views, we probably then need to rename this to subscribe feed, and let's have a unsubscribe feed, which just does nothing at the moment. And let's see what happens if I just run the app. So, okay, we can unsubscribe now, which is good. If we click that, nothing happens, which is fine for the time being, I think. What do we want to do in that case? Let's not handle that case for the time being. Let's just delete the subscription manually. So subscriptions, let's delete you. So let's just check that subscribing to a feed still does work. If I go to talk Python test subscribe, okay, that seems to work. Maybe I should also show an unsubscribe button here as well. So now you can unsubscribe by clicking this. View podcast. Okay, that takes you to there. So how would an unsubscribe thing work, and where would we redirect to? Would we redirect back to the current view? I guess we would. So can we do something like subscription.objects.delete, where we're going to do it, I guess, similar to this. Should it be a get? I think it can be a get for the time being. So feed link URL, and let's just for now redirect back to the home. So podcasts, what do we call this? Subscription, what do we call you? Subscription list. And let's see if this works. So in here, okay, we're still going to URL encode the URL, so let's give this a go. If we hit unsubscribe, manager has no attribute delete, which I guess is because I've used the API wrong. So Django delete objects, making queries. Can I not just do delete? Let me have a look. Or do I have to get it and then delete it? Okay, so I can do dot delete like this, or like this. This will delete and all of its entry objects. Okay, but this might not like actually cascade everything, so let's do subscription equals get. Ooh, why does that keep happening? Yeah, subscription dot delete. Okay, let's once again give us a crack. Podcast is not a registered namespace. Yes, it is. Or maybe it just can, because I'm in the podcast app, maybe it's just subscription list. So refresh. Subscription matching query does not exist. Maybe because the first request actually succeeded. Yeah, okay, so there's no subscription here, so it succeeded. So there's nothing here, so talk Python, subscribe to you, talk Python, unsubscribe from you. We didn't return anything. That's correct. We do need to return redirect. So if it doesn't exist, then what do we do? Maybe we just ignore this. So try accept subscription doesn't exist. Else we want to do this, and then eventually we want to just redirect. Okay, so this should redirect us to the home page without any errors, just a bit nicer. Subscribe and unsubscribe. Okay, that works. That's great. I think I probably also need a button here next to visit site on the podcast detail. So just load the partial here, and let me steal it from this. So how can we say if you are subscribed or unsubscribed? Problem is, this is the podcast detail view. So what we're dealing with here is a podcast, not a subscription. So maybe this does need to be like a subscription detail view, and then we can determine whether you're subscribed or not. The only other way would be to do some database joining. So I think that's something that I can tackle in the next episode, is converting this view. Although the URL, I think I'm going to keep it as podcast, this is still going to be underlying a user subscription, because we probably also want to show like information about the users currently like favorited episodes or the episode progress in here. So it doesn't make sense to just have this as like the same podcast view for every user. Yeah, I think that will be my plan for the next episode, is converting this. But everything else, we've fixed that bug, and everything else seems to be looking a bit smoother. So I'll see you guys in the next episode.